Welcome to our channel. If you are here for the first time, consider subscribing to our channel, like the video, and share them with your friends. Please hit the bell icon to get the notifications on our next videos. Thank you. We start the amazing tradition from Cambodia. Cambodian love huts. This unique tradition, followed by the Krug tribe, in the Ratnakiri region of Cambodia, is something which fathers in other countries won't even dare to think of. After a girl attains puberty, her father builds a bamboo hut for her, far away from the home. This is done to make it feasible for the girl to have sex with the boys of her choice. The community believes that this leads to sexual empowerment and builds trust. The tribe has been living in harmony for years, and there has been no report of sexual violence. Next one is Sundance of Native Americans. Drums, making a piece of ambiguous deep music, as if calling the spirits, a raging fire coming to life, ceremonial pipes screaming loud enough for the neighboring village to hear. These are some of the characteristics of a typical Sundance celebration by the Native Americans of Plain culture, in USA and Canada. The celebration includes fasting and praying, while some people give personal sacrifices for the benefit of the family, or the community. People pierce their skin, and dance while the family members pray in their support. Next is, drinking cow blood in Kenya and Tanzania. The popular Maasai tribe of southern Kenya and northern Tanzania are known for a lot of things. A popular one among them is their ritual of drinking a cow's blood on special occasions, like birth and marriage, and also to help them with hangovers. The tribals use a bamboo shoot to cut the veins of the bovine, and then suck the blood. Strangely, the cow doesn't die after this. This may be very strange to you, but the Maasais consider this to be a very ordinary activity. After all, cow's milk and blood are what they feed on. The cow's blood is high in protein, and is beneficial for the immune system. Phuket Vegetarian Festival in Thailand. Most of you are familiar with the picture but not the festival. Am I right? Also known as the Nine Emperor Gods Festival, it is celebrated on the eve of the 9th lunar month of the Chinese calendar. Traditionally, the festival is about meat abstention for 9 days, but it is filled with strange celebrations, and some really gruesome activities. People puncture their cheeks, and insert sharp objects like dagger, knives, and spears. Some other activities include fire walking, and body piercing. Beware! This festival is not for the faint-heart ones. Ainu bear worship in Japan and Russia. Indigenous to Japan and Russia, the Ainus mainly inhabit the Japanese archipelago. The bizarre thing about their tradition is that they consider bear to be god, and still sacrifice them in the ritual called Omant. But more astonishing than that is another ritual called Lomand, in which they capture the sacrificed bear's cub, and treat it better than the Ainu children themselves. If the cub lacks teeth, and is unable to chew the food offered, a nursing mother will allow him to feed on her breast. The strange fact comes into the picture when, after all of this, the cub is ultimately sacrificed, and the Ainus celebrate on the top of the corpse, pouring wine over it. The poor cub was being raised to die so pathetically. Extreme log ride, in Japan. Once every 6 years, the Onbashira festival takes place in the Lake Suwa region of Nagano Prefecture, in Japan. The purpose of the festival is to replace the 16 log pillars that stand at the corners of the 4 buildings of the Suwa Grand Shrine. The festivities begin in the mountains in April, when 16 carefully chosen fir trees in the mountains are cut down, using traditional logging tools. They are then dragged down to the temple, without the use of mechanized equipment. The logs are usually about 20 meters long, and weigh as much as 12 tons, so people have to work in large teams to hoist them up mountains, and across rivers. The entire journey, usually about 10 kilometers, is treacherous. The deadliest part, though, comes when the logs have to be moved downhill. To prove their bravery, men ride straddling the logs, as they hurtle down the mountainside. This can result in devastating injuries and death. Running of the bulls, in Spain. Everybody does vacations their own way. Some of us like to go to museums, or restaurants, while others like to be chased down the street by angry farm animals. If you're in the latter category, Head to the Fiesta de San Fermin, held in July in Pamplona, Spain. Early in the morning on each day of the festival, about 2,000 brave souls line up, at the start of an 875-meter, half-mile, running course, through the streets of the city center. The fun starts at 8 a.m., when the human runners sprint down the course, immediately followed by 6 charging bulls. Injuries are rarer than you'd think, but tramplings and gorings, including fatal ones, do occur. More than half of the participants, in most runnings of the bulls, are tourists. This probably owes something to the American writer Ernest Hemingway, who popularized the festival, after he attended in the 1920s. Fruit battle, in Italy. If oranges seem harmless to you, that's probably because nobody has ever thrown one straight at your head. Every year in February, the Italian town of Ivrea stages a citrus battle royale, reenacting a semi-legendary medieval uprising, in which the town overthrew a tyrant. A horse-drawn cart carrying oranges, and players representing the tyrant's evil henchmen, is drawn into the square, where it is swarmed by hordes of noble orange-throwing townspeople. The players in the cart wear hockey-style protective gear. The people on foot have special uniforms that divide them into 9 traditional squads, but nothing to soften the impact of an orange arriving at high speed. Cuts and bruises are to be expected. The sting of orange juice in a cut is certainly an acquired taste. The battle looks like chaos, but there is an important limit: throwing oranges at the horses is strictly forbidden. Cheese rolling, in England. For more than a century, a 2-day festival has been held in Gloucestershire, England, centered on a strange competition. An 8-pound wheel of double Gloucester cheese is rolled down a 200-yard hillside in the country. A group of runners chases it, trying to catch it. The problem is that the hill is too steep for a human to stay upright, so most of the runners fall awkwardly after a few steps, and then tumble the rest of the way down. Theoretically, the cheese is given to the runner who catches it. But since a wheel of cheese travels downhill much faster than the fragile and oddly shaped bipeds pursuing it, the prize usually goes to the first person to reach the bottom of the hill. Bumps and bruises are guaranteed, and more serious injuries are a definite possibility. Local authorities have tried to discourage the festival, reminding the organizers, including the manufacturer of the cheese, that they could be held liable for any cheese rolling injuries. Roukito Polemos, Rocket War, in Greece. Every year, on Easter, the Greek village of Vorontados engages in an unusual, dangerous custom. 2 rival churches, Agios Markos and Panagia Eridiani, stage mock war, firing as many as 60,000 small rockets at each other's bell towers. This takes place while services are being held in both churches. The light show in the night sky is spectacular, but some of the rockets inevitably veer off course, causing injuries, property damage, and occasionally death. Nobody is sure exactly how the tradition got started. One legend says that the village used to fire cannons over the sea to ward off pirates, but the cannons were taken away to prevent uprisings during the Ottoman occupation. After the War of Greek Independence, 1823-31, residents celebrated having their access to munitions restored by shooting off fireworks. Christmas Fighting Festival, in Peru. Each year, the Peruvian province of Chumbivilcas hosts the vibrant Christmas-time festival of Takanakui. High up in the Andes Mountains, at an elevation of around 3,600 meters, in the well-known Cusco region, communities get together for celebrations involving music, dancing, drinking, eating, and brightly colored costumes. It's much like any number of festivals in Latin America, except this holiday gathering culminates with a series of public fist fights on Christmas Day, 25th of December. Entire towns congregate around sporting arenas to watch members of the community fight each other. People of all ages enter the ring, from young children to the elderly, and participation is open to women and men alike. The purpose of Takanakui is to settle grievances built up over the year, be they civil disputes or personal ones, in a public forum. The festival seeks to resolve conflict, strengthen community bonds, and hopefully, arrive at a greater peace. Teeth tossing, in Greece. Some cultures pop children's teeth under their pillows and wait for a swap with cold hard cash by a fairy. Others throw a baby's recently liberated tooth on their roofs. Avoiding using red ink, in South Korea. Based on their history and customs, red ink was used to write down names of dead people. It is therefore considered taboo to write someone's name in red. The Monkey Buffet Festival, in Thailand. Some people might be surprised to be looking at some monkeys atop a buffet table, feasting on sumptuous dishes. In this annual festivity, over 3,000 kilograms of fruits and vegetables are fed to several monkeys that dwell in Lopburi, Bangkok. Tomato craze, in Spain. La Tomatina is the biggest tomato fight that exists. It is a strange culture among the Valencians, in Bunal, where tomatoes are used as weapons. Snowball fights are so last year. The blackening and henna weddings, in Muslim countries. A strange culture, in Islam, where women from the bride's family surround her and paint designs on her feet, arms, and hands, to symbolize womanhood, provide fertility, and luck to the woman. This happens 2 days before the wedding. Like tattoos, just not permanent. Bushido and seppuku, of Japan. Bushido has remained the warrior code that emphasizes loyalty, strength, and integrity. Seppuku is the ritual suicide, which is an alternative to defeat. This strange custom continues up to today, where it is considered better to commit it rather than surrender. The Haka, in New Zealand. The Maori practice, a way of spectating that involves grunting, menacing facial expressions, loud chanting, stomping, guttural howling, tongue wagging, and chest thumping. It may sound like a guy trying to pick up a girl in Western nightclubs, but it is meant to strike fear and awe into the opponents. Welcome drinks, in Fiji. You may have noticed this when you were welcomed to the Pacific nation. Guests are served a strange earthy cocktail made from squeezing roots, and served in a wooden bowl or bucket. It's called kava, but cannot in any way compare to the Spanish bubbles. Kava is considered narcotics in many countries, although a very mild one. Blubbing brides, in China. Brides cry for about a month, which is considered part of the wedding preparations. This culture is still observed by the Fuji, living in Wuling Mountains. I guess it beats crying for a month after the wedding. Onzarigana, in Spain. This well-known tradition means the Day of the Geese. On this occasion, a goose is covered with grease and is tied very high above a body of water. Gentlemen then try to get a hold of the goose as they jump from their boat. The objective is to rip off the goose's head as they grab it. This competition is a test of their strength, endurance, and agility, which would make them eligible to wed the woman they adore. However, the custom is no longer practiced using a live goose, because of animal rights concerns. Footbinding, in China. Young girls were compelled to go through the painful process of footbinding. For almost 1,000 years, the Chinese thought that small feet were marks of beauty and desirability among girls. This perception caused the Chinese men and women to intentionally restrict the girls' feet from growing bigger by binding them. In the late 1940s, this tradition was stopped because of the debilitating experience that young Chinese girls suffered from. The Nagpanchami Festival, in India. This festival is all about worshipping snakes that are specially gathered for the occasion. It is celebrated in the rural areas of Maharashtra, and in certain temples. During Nagpanchami, people dance to the music, carrying snakes in pots which are placed on their heads, and joining the procession towards the temple. After chants and prayers, the snakes are sprinkled with a mixture of turmeric and red powder, and offered a mix of honey and milk, after which they are released into the temple courtyard. Even though some of the most venomous snakes, including cobras, are used in the ritual, people suffering from snake bites is almost unheard of. Perhaps they know what they are doing.